The royal family hid a luxury train for over a century. Now the details are out. Just when you thought the crown had taught you everything about the British royal family, new information arrives to blow your mind. That's how we're feeling about the revelation that, for nearly 200 years, Buckingham Palace has had its own private luxury train. Only a handful of people in the world have ever seen its insides, but it's as beautiful as you could imagine, and it's gone through a ton of upgrades over the years. The 9-carriage train was first ridden in 1840 by King William IV's wife, and Queen Victoria followed suit 2 years later as the first monarch to commute by train. Her empire was vast, and it was important to be able to travel quickly, though the train ride wasn't initially ideal. She needed a reliable way to perform her duties far and wide, but though her husband, Prince Albert, was a big locomotive fan, she wasn't sold. It was still a new form of transportation and needed improvement to raise it to royal standards. One of the first alterations Queen Victoria made was the installation of a plumbing system. She found it inconvenient to conduct her business in the porcelain throne while the car was moving, so whenever nature called, the train would have to abruptly stop. In addition to the bathroom, Queen Victoria's alterations made the royal train into an incredibly comfortable place to stay. She added sleeping accommodations, a large dining room, and even electricity, which was an incredible luxury for transit at the time. The train was heavily decorated to look like a palace and therefore feel like home. Silk, mahogany, gold embellishments, and even live plants adorned its insides, making it truly a traveling comfort zone. However, it wasn't meant for just everyone. Though the train was outfitted like a palace, only a few palace members got access to it. Currently, those are Queen Elizabeth II, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles, and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall. However, non-royal members of staff have been allowed on the train to continue their service. Aside from the current monarch and the most senior royal family members, others in the family can be welcomed, like Queen Elizabeth II invited Meghan Markle in 2018, but no one sets foot aboard without that invitation. The train remained as secret for decades as a way for the royals to travel where they were needed. Key points in history prove the royal train's importance for the nation, and it was especially useful during the 2 world wars. During World War I, King George V used it not only to travel around the world, but also as lodgings. He felt it was inappropriate to ask his subjects to arrange accommodations for him during those difficult times. His son also made good use of the train during World War II. King George VI used it to visit areas of the country that the Germans were actively bombing. During that trip, he realized how vulnerable the train was to an attack, and when he returned, it would undergo a major refurbishment. To suit the train for war zones, its white-roofed wooden cars were replaced with armor-plated ones, totaling 56 tons and chock full of security measures. To safeguard the nation's information, special cabinets to store top-secret documents were designed into the royal train. All this remained unknown to the public until after the end of World War II. Even today, the details of each train journey are heavily guarded. Security measures are so tight, even the train's own staff aren't told which royals will travel with them. After the war, updates continued to modernize the train. A £320,000 renovation in the 80s added protections to defend against machine gun fire, rockets, and bombs. But the renovations haven't all been serious. Royal family members have also added some more light-hearted personal touches to their home on wheels. The Queen, Prince Philip, and Prince Charles all had input on the new design, incorporating the occasional quirky touch, like a shaving mirror mounted by the toilet for Prince Philip. Queen Elizabeth II took a much more practical approach to her requested designs. Unlike Queen Victoria's fancy interiors, the current royal train's cars are more subdued, as Queen Elizabeth II focuses more on practicality rather than poshness. For her, the train remains a firm favorite, as it's one of the few places where she can truly have privacy. As important as travel became for the royal family, rushing was not a priority. The train has strict limits on speed, and the fastest it will ever move is 70 miles per hour. That's slow by modern standards, but it's a safeguard to avoid accidents. Annually, the train makes around 15 round trips, and unlike other trains, the Royal Train is absolutely always punctual. Its staff takes pride in constantly arriving within 15 seconds of their projected arrival time. However, as revolutionary as the Royal Train has been, its days may be numbered. Despite the Queen's insistence that it's necessary, its cost of travel is far more expensive than a plane trip, and British taxpayers are footing the bill. Officials are well aware of the expense, but argue that at the age of 93, the Queen should be able to travel in comfort and security, with emphasis on how secure it is. For them, that's actually cost-effective. The controversy hasn't ended with any sort of resolution that may be in taxpayers' favor. For the near future, it looks like the royal family will continue to enjoy the train's luxuries while they're working on tour. A break from the luxuries they enjoy while flying. Just imagine boarding a commercial flight and this was the first thing you saw. A dazzlingly well-dressed hostess handing out glasses of Dom Perignon and truffled lobster skewers. Well, extravagance like this actually exists. Of course, you need to be willing to shell out a boatload of cash to experience it. But that's what makes the royal family so unique. They have the cash and they have the plane, the Concorde. When the Concorde first hit the airline landscape, it immediately bullied its way into the front of the line. It flew higher than any plane before it, traveled faster, and the onboard amenities were outrageous. Just ask Princess Diana. As soon as the Concorde became commercially available for anyone to use, Princess Diana and her husband Charles made it their preferred mode of travel. And why not? They had money to spend and people to impress, and the plane became a legend in its own right. However, no trip was as special as Diana's first journey aboard the luxury airliner. She had no idea what to expect, but on April 14, 1986, British Airways Chairman Lord King welcomed her to life on the Concorde. Even though the first journey Diana and Charles made was relatively short, a hop from London to Vienna, there was plenty of luggage to pack. The crew was dealing with a prince and princess after all. Diana and Charles were front and center to a barrage of photographers wanting to catch a glimpse of the power couple before they took their first trip on the Concorde. Diana was all smiles, but Charles was dealing with an unfortunate situation. He was nursing a finger injury due to a gardening accident. "It was a damn hammer," he said. "I missed the stake, and the end of the finger came off." It did not completely drop off, but was hanging by a bit. While Prince Charles nursed his wounded finger, the couple boarded the plane. Diana was in awe at the perks afforded by the Concorde. However, when they finally arrived in Vienna, things were less relaxed. Just a few months before this particular visit, a horrific tourist accident struck both the Vienna airport where they landed and Rome, killing 13 and injuring over 100 more. So security detail was at an all-time high. Australian President Rudolf Kirschlager, along with plenty of armed military officials, greeted the prince and princess and welcomed them like family. Once the initial meet and greet was over, the royal couple began their eventful 3-day trip. Like nearly every single visit anyone from the royal family made, there wasn't a second of downtime for Diana and Charles. Hordes of screaming fans welcomed them both, but Diana clearly stole the show right out of the gate. Princess Di was also known for her keen sense of fashion, and she pulled out all the stops on the Vienna trip. A green sequenced dress wowed everyone the first night at the Vienna Burg Theater. The second night, however, blew that out of the water. Then a fashion designer named Victor Edelstein supplied Diana with her garb for the second day, which had the exact same effect on the crowds. On the third day, however, she and Charles changed things up a bit. Instead of gallivanting around the city flaunting all of the designer clothing, the couple attended a concert put on by the Vienna Boys Choir, who performed a touching rendition of the famous English song, "My Bonnie Lass She Smileth." Finally, after 3 jam-packed days of crazed fans, amazing music, constant handshakes, and incredible attire, the couple returned home to England. It was during the return trip that this iconic photo was snapped of the princess aboard the Concorde. The trip to and from Vienna alerted Diana to one fascinating feature of the Concorde planes. There were no class distinctions. Everyone was treated equally on board, which meant everyone was treated like the rich and the famous. Once Diana's plane safely landed on the tarmac in London, and everyone on board, including the crew, got off, they all posed for this iconic photo. Even though it was raining, everyone was smiling about the amazing experience. Soon more trips were booked on the Concorde. Diana's trip to Vienna was one of several she took aboard the futuristic plane. Her most memorable journey was perhaps when she flew solo to New York City in 1989 to meet with Mother Teresa. Diana arrived and people flocked. While the trip appeared so lovely to outsiders, few knew of the conflicts boiling between Diana and Charles. The growing tensions between them were highlighted in a moment 1 year earlier. And that moment started with a gift. Gift giving in the royal family is a pretty big deal. They are the most famous family on the planet, after all. However, in recent years, presents have taken on a humorous tone, as opposed to a heartfelt one. For example, Queen Elizabeth II was gifted a shower cap that read, "Ain't life a bee," 1 year, while Prince Harry made off with a Grow Your Own Girlfriend kit. Gag gifts, however, weren't always the name of the game. Sure, the occasional jokey present was passed around, but one member who always tried to give her husband something near and dear to her heart was Princess Diana, and she usually hit it out of the park. Prince Charles was a lucky recipient of many of Diana's gifts over the years, and like any grateful husband, he opened them up with a smile on his face and love in his heart, for a while. However, in 1985, Charles was presented with something that didn't exactly go over the way Diana hoped it would, and he was left with a rather sour taste in his mouth. It all started with a Christmas gala. A lavish holiday celebration was set to unfold at the popular Covent Garden in London. Diana looked forward to the night's events, highlighted by an elaborate ballet routine that would dazzle everyone in attendance. It meant more to her than most people realized. Ballet held a special place in Diana's heart. She took lessons as a young child and even participated in English national ballet rehearsals as an adult. Her passion for dance was why she contacted a man named Wayne Sleep. Sleep was a famous dancer, director, choreographer, and actor who spent many years at the top of the ballet game, and Diana needed his expertise for the surprise she had planned for Charles. Diana had quite a vision when it came to the Christmas party. She told Sleep she wanted to choreograph a dance to Billy Joel's Uptown Girl for all the attendees, and Sleep was instantly on board. Sleep was more than familiar with Uptown Girl, and he carefully crafted a 3-minute routine to perform alongside Diana. He presented the idea to the princess, and the two began rehearsing in secret. The two spent hours together making sure the entire dance was nailed down to perfection. She was a princess after all, and she wanted the performance to be nothing short of spectacular. Finally, the Christmas gala arrived, and Diana was especially excited about the events that were about to unfold. She sat next to Charles for much of the night, but at one point she quietly slipped out of sight. Charles didn't think much of Diana's absence. However, his jaw hit the floor a few minutes into the live dance performance when he realized exactly where his wife disappeared to. She was front and center on the stage. Charles couldn't believe his eyes. He knew Diana loved dancing, but he never thought the woman who was always so proper during royal celebrations could let her hair down in the funkiest way imaginable. He watched in awe. Sleep and Diana were a force on the stage. They had their Billy Joel routine down to the T, and they hit every mark they rehearsed. It could not have been a more perfect dance number for the two. The entire crowd of 2,000 was stunned as they watched Diana absolutely crush the performance. Electricity flowing through her every move, the pair finished with an epic finale, immediately met with applause. After the pair took their final bow, Sleep told Diana she had to also give a special bow to the royal box where Charles sat. According to Sleep, she responded with, "I'm not bowing to him, he's my hubby." Now you'd think Charles would have been the most delighted man in the audience, seeing that the star of the performance was his wife. However, he actually had the opposite reaction, which Diana did not see coming. Richard Kay, a friend of Diana's, admitted that Charles wasn't terribly impressed because he thought she was showing off. Regardless of his opinion, it took guts to do what Diana did, and she was pleased with herself. Hey, when it comes to gift giving, you can't always come out on top, which Diana quickly learned after leaving the dance stage. However, one royal who always knows how to garner a smile with a gift is the Queen. It's been several years since the royal wedding that captivated the world, and though the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge haven't quite reached platinum status, the Queen still managed to give Kate a meaningful gift worthy of royalty. The Queen has much to be proud of when it comes to her granddaughter-in-law. Since becoming the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate has been a poised role model for every kid who dreams of being royalty, and not only because she looks like a princess. She is passionate about charity work and is heavily involved in organizations like Action on Addiction, Place to Be, and East Anglia's Children's Hospice. Kate's work even takes her far away from the palace. As an ambassador, she traveled all over the globe, often the guest of honor at memorials, charity events, and parties attended by the best and brightest. Kate's naturally approachable nature hasn't gone unnoticed, even at the top of the royal family. So when Kate's wedding anniversary rolled around, the Queen knew she had to give her something special. The Queen of England has access to more treasures than anyone else, so if anyone could give Kate the gift of a lifetime, it was her. But there's more to being royal than tiaras and jewels, and the Queen knew that Kate was worth more than sparkles. She had a different gift in mind for the Duchess, one that couldn't be found in a palace. The Queen had a lot to live up to. Considering the gifts she'd given to the couple on previous occasions, she'd often given members of the royal family esteemed titles and honors over the years, and she has a history of giving her grandchildren lavish gifts. The gift she gave William and Kate on their wedding day was certainly lavish. She gave them Amner Hall, which now serves as a second home for Will, Kate, and their kids. And as far as the gifts go, the Queen wasn't done being generous. She provided the beautiful tiara Kate wore on her wedding day, known as the Cartier Halo Tiara. It was originally purchased by the Queen's father and eventually passed down to Queen Elizabeth. The Queen isn't all but glitz and glam, however. The Queen actually prefers that the family exchange silly gifts at Christmas instead of something extravagant. We can only imagine what Kate gave the Queen. Judging by photos snapped by paparazzi, the Christmas shenanigans have only brought them closer. They often sit next to each other at events and are seen laughing and having a good time together. Clearly they get along, and a unique item Kate wore at a Buckingham Palace state dinner in 2018 put their respect for each other on display. Affixed to Kate's gown was the badge of the Royal Family Order of Queen Elizabeth II. This is a rare item to see on a royal, since the Queen only gives the award to members of her family in honor of exemplary service. Still, the ivory badge of the royal family isn't the most prestigious award a family member can receive from the Queen. In April 2019, the Queen had something special in mind for Kate, and it blew the honorable ivory badge out of the water. For Kate's 8th wedding anniversary, the Queen presented her with the Dame Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order. This may not sound like a big deal, but its history makes it one of the most prestigious awards one can get. The Royal Victorian Order all started with, as you may have guessed, Queen Victoria herself. These awards are made personal by the Queen for service to the sovereign, so it's a high honor. For Kate especially, this award means a lot. Kate will one day be Queen Consort, aka the wife of the King. If it seems like Kate is buried in responsibilities now, it will only increase when she becomes Queen Consort. And Queen Elizabeth has apparently started meeting with Kate in secret. It is believed that she's doing so in order to train Kate for her future queenly duties. Though she'll never have to make any political or militaristic decisions, she'll be under an astounding amount of pressure from the public and the royal family. Not only will her status be elevated, but she'll have to deal with ceremonial duties that are specific to the Queen Consort. This is a lot on anyone's shoulders, and a royal source let the public in on how those secret meetings were going. She's really taken Kate under her wing, the source said. The two of them will often spend hours discussing royal life and the future of the monarchy. Their friendship, it seems, goes even further than a badge, award, or sash. It doesn't take a lavish gift or honorable title to see how proud the Queen is of Kate's accomplishments. If anyone ever doubted Kate's ability to lead, the Queen's honor of the Royal Victorian Order is proof that the monarchy is in good hands. The press always has fun speculating about the lives of the royals, and when they're not talking about the Queen, they're talking about the princes. The brothers have always been tabloid fodder. No matter what they do, it ends up being in the press, and is probably taken out of context. When everything from your first steps to your wedding is broadcast worldwide, it's hard to determine where your personal life ends and public information begins. As adults, William and Harry had to decide for themselves. They could either follow in the footsteps of their ancestors and ignore the paparazzi as much as possible, or throw caution to the wind and be honest with the press. They've so often chosen to stay silent, until now. As the princes started their own families, fans of the royals couldn't help but notice something odd. A lot of the time, they made outings or appearances separately. People were so used to seeing the brothers together, especially with Kate and Meghan. The dynamic foursome was always photographed together at palace events and even at impromptu playdates with their children, but in recent months, these sightings have slowed to a standstill. Each couple, it seems, is suddenly keeping their distance. To make matters worse, a royal source finally commented on the rumors that the brothers were fighting, and the news wasn't exactly pleasant. Apparently, the rumors all connect to another set of rumors, this time about Harry and Meghan. The couple's recent documentary, Harry and Meghan: An African Journey, was unexpectedly candid and showed the new parents as being in a fragile, as one source would claim, emotional state. Meghan especially really pulled away the royal curtain. She admitted that despite trying to maintain a stiff upper lip, in the face of merciless press, she often feels frustrated. Harry took a page from Meghan's candid interview and used the opportunity to speak up about his own struggles. Harry responded to rumors about the supposed rift between the royal brothers. It would have made sense for him to deny the rumors about him and William. At least that's what he was expected to do. But he was shockingly real. Part of it, this family being under the pressure that it's under. Stuff happens, Harry said. A surprising admission for a family as scrutinized as the Windsors. Harry was quick to elaborate on the stuff he was referring to. We're certainly on different paths at the moment, Harry said of him and William. This makes sense. As parents of young children and as members of the royal family, there's hardly time to sleep, let alone make nice in front of the press. We don't see each other as much as we used to because we're so busy, but I love him dearly, Harry explained. Still, there's another person in this supposed non-rift, and he has his own opinion about the matter. It's true that the Royal Fab Four, as the press once called William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan, haven't been seen together for quite some time. By October 2019, their last public appearance was way back in July. Are they truly just on different paths, as Harry said? A palace source isn't so sure. The source claimed that William is simply worried about his brother and sister-in-law after their emotional TV documentary. As Harry's brother, William would be the first to know if anything was amiss in Harry's personal life. Apparently, William hopes the couple is alright. He knows better than anyone how stressful it can be to deal with the press on top of royal and familiar responsibilities. This means, of course, that William heard what Harry said about their relationship, which may have made for an awkward Remembrance Day celebration in November 2019, the first two events both couples attended together in months. Though they weren't together during the celebration, the same can't be said for William and Harry themselves. The brothers stood together as they paid their respects. Since this was the first time the brothers were publicly seen together in months, Harry's claim that they were simply on different wavelengths may not have been far from the truth. After all, what Harry said about his brother wasn't all bad. As brothers, you have good days, you have bad days, he admitted. A huge part of their rift may be due to something William and Harry both understand all too well. The press. The majority of the stuff is created out of nothing, Harry implied of the press, making up problems between them. To Harry, everything rumored about in the press is all exaggerated. "Look, we're brothers. We'll always be brothers," he said. Even though all is speculation surrounding Harry and William's relationship, the person who has really suffered under the steely gaze of the press is Meghan. Ever since she first came onto the royal scene, in 2016, media outlets have had a field day picking her apart. It's been years now, and the internet's bullying of Meghan hasn't waned. Paparazzi has made it their mission to expose every private detail about her life, and they show no sign of stopping, even as Harry and Meghan's patience runs short. We know by now that Meghan isn't going anywhere. She is the Duchess of Sussex after all. Since Meghan gave birth to her little royal bundle of joy, Archie, in 2019, the media harassment has only gotten worse for poor Meggie. Ridiculously negative reports surfaced, like demanding Meghan Markle email staff instructions as early as 5 a.m. And, our personal favorite, Markle is related to Jack the Ripper serial killer, suspects H.H. Holmes. They drained her spirits. Those interesting headlines were courtesy of UK tabloid site The Sun. The obvious slander of Meghan, which has focused on her parenting style and her wardrobe, not to mention the fact that she's been deemed insensitive and callous, has reached its peak. Sources said that Meghan has been incredibly stressed over the British media's harmful depiction of her, and that the whirlwind of drama has affected her state of mind. Not good for a new mother. Part of this stress relates to Meghan's feelings that Duchess Kate sets a very high standard, and it's discouraging that the British public holds her up to that. As disclosed by a source, well, Prince Harry has had enough of the abuse. Prince Harry, like the gentleman he is taking legal action against the Associated Newspapers, which parents the UK's Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday, for its misuse of private information, infringement of copyright, and breach of the Data Protection Act 2018. According to The Guardian, Harry has also accused the paper of deceiving readers by cunningly omitting specific information to mask the lies they had perpetrated for over a year. Of course, this was rebuffed by the Associated Newspapers. Harry's October 2019 statement, which is present on the Sussex's official website, claims that the demon Associated Newspapers plotted a ruthless campaign that has escalated over the past year throughout Meghan's pregnancy and while raising our newborn son. There is a human cost to this relentless propaganda, specifically when it is knowingly false and malicious, it read. "I cannot begin to describe how painful it has been," Prince Harry's statement continued. The public feud had just begun. There comes a point when the only thing to do is to stand up to this behavior, because it destroys people and destroys lives. Put simply, it is bullying, which scares and silences people, Prince Harry asserted. Those royals mean business. Harry's lengthy statement left the public aghast, as royals don't usually get too detailed regarding their emotions. PR consultant Mark Burkowski thought this statement was a bit risky, with Harry having been a little too open about what they think about the media. Burkowski continued that Harry has drawn a line in the sand, and that line has been crossed. There will be a lot of people who support him, but he will also be losing a lot of friends. Yikes. Harry clearly couldn't contain his royal rage. One of the most unsettling things about this sort of public bullying of Meghan Markle is that it's eerily similar to how the British press treated the late Princess Diana, Prince Harry's mother. It's no wonder why he's aggressively taking legal action against these heinous tabloids. Though the drama with the Associated Newspapers was bloody bad enough, more legal action was to come. Just a few days later, Prince Harry filed documents against New Group newspapers, which parents The Sun and the Daily Mirror. You knew we mentioned